Hello, we're going to talk about validity now. The first question about validity is, does the test accurately measure what it is intended to measure? That is, here it is, I've got an exam and I want to know if it's doing its job. Like a thermometer. Is the thermometer really testing my correct temperature? And if not, I don't want to use it. Think of the test like a thermometer. Okay, now the second question is, to what extent will the interpretation of the scores be appropriate, meaningful, and useful for the intended application of the results? Again, let's go back to our thermometer. Am I in Celsius or Fahrenheit? I need to know exactly what unit of measurement I'm using, and the tests are the same. We need to know cutoff points, and we need to know what the tests are, the units of measurement that the tests are using. Okay, now, there are several kinds of validity. It's not all one variety. The first kind of validity that we'll be talking about is content validity. The content constitutes a representative sample of language skills, structures with which it is meant to be concerned. Is it a grammar test? Then you don't want to test writing. Is it a reading test? Then you want to make sure that there's a real text and not just a sentence that you're testing. And how do you know if you have good content validity? You have to compare the test specification with the test structures, and you want to see a sample of the test. Okay, the next kind of validity is criterion-related validity. That is, compare the experimental test with an independent or dependent assessment. That is, suppose I'm giving a grammar test. Is it too hard? Is it too easy? How do I know? If I look at the teacher's grade, or if I compare this test scores with a standardized test, the good students should also get high grades on my test. If not, then there's a problem with the criterion-related validity. Now there are two different kinds of criterion-related validity. One of them is concurrent validity. Concurrent meaning at the same time. That is, if I can give two tests at the same time, the good students do well, the poor students do poorly, then I see that the tests are valid. They have to be independent tests. If the good student gets a low grade, then something's wrong with the test, not with the student. The second kind of criterion-related validity is predictive validity. That is, the degree to which the test predicts the individual's future performance. An example is the psychometric test. It can be a placement test or a proficiency test. And then you compare the test results with school performance. I want just to point out that even the best predictive test only predicts with 30% accuracy. So that's not very high, but we don't know how to predict. We only give tests. We're not fortune tellers. Okay, the next kind of validity is construct validity. Think of a construction worker. Think of a building. The test measures, we want to see if the test measures the ability with which it is supposed to measure according to the theories of language learning. So for here, if there's a reading test, we know what reading is. In a few minutes, we'll talk about all the different kinds of skills that we use in reading. For example, the student has to recognize the letters. The student has to see that the sentence works. The student has to combine the ideas to understand the ideas in the test. So if we know what reading is about, then we look at the reading test and see if the test actually addresses all the factors involved in the reading skill. What about a semi-direct oral test, which is like a phone test? The test is on the telephone. then we want to know, can the student hold a conversation? If I say, or the telephone says good morning, the student has to give a response that shows that they know how to conduct a conversation. So the test has to test the skill that you're trying to focus on. So here we have all these points. Define the domain of the task to be measured. That is it speaking, reading, whatever it is. Analyze the mental process. That's what we talked about. What is needed in the test? Do they have to know how to produce sentences or to understand sentences? The third point is compare the scores of known groups to see if your good students are doing well and the poor students are doing not so well. Compare scores before and after some treatment. I can give them a test at the beginning of the course, another test at the end of the course. Have they improved? And another point is I can correlate scores with other measures. For example, the SAT or school grades. This is very close to reliability, which we will talk about next lesson. But for now, we say this is part of the criterion-related validity. And then we have face validity. Now, face validity is the easiest validity. It can be for students, teachers, educational authorities, or employers. Face validity, think about face value. If I ask you is something good or bad, and you don't have any knowledge, you just look at it take it at face value. Does the test look as if it measures what it is supposed to measure? That is, you look at the paper. You don't read the test. You look at the paper. You look and see, are there 5 questions on one side? Is the typing large enough? Is it too small? Is it newspaper or white paper? It has to look official. You don't want to write a test on a napkin. So this is all part of the face validity. And finally, there is systemic validity. That is, it's like washback or feedback. What is the impact of the test on the system, on the educational system? In system models, a valid test is one that brings about or induces an improvement in the tested skills after the test has been in the educational system for a period of time. Like the Matzav test. The Metzav test, people wouldn't use it if it didn't improve and standardize the level of the students. Or the Bagrut, people wouldn't use it if it didn't have an educational value. And if you remember what we said a few minutes ago, we said that you learn as much as you as much as in a test in a regular classroom. Minute for minute, you learn as much in a test as you do when you are in the regular classroom. So the test has to have some educational value, and that is its systemic validity. Okay, we're done.